Hello friends, welcome to another tutorial on web development. This time we are going to create a landing page based on a design that I've already completed. I think the best way to learn and improve your skills is to keep practicing regularly. As like last time, we are going to use HTML and SASS without any other libraries. And this design that you can see on the screen is for a camping website, and it's not very complicated. It just has four main sections with the header and a footer. So opening up VS Code, where we'll make the code changes. I've already set up the starting project, which has an index HTML file, a main.scss file, and the images that have been exported from the Adobe XD design. We will use the SASS compiler plugin on VS Code to compile the SCSS file to normal SASS CSS file. And this is done by clicking on this button here called Watch SASS. So you can see that the SASS compiler will generate the main.css file from this SASS file whenever there is any change that we make to it. Okay, so let's get started. Coming to the design, you can see this is a desktop version, so we'll probably just concentrate on the desktop version for today. There's this hero section, and there's the hero text, which is partly on top of the hero and partly below it. Then there's a news section. Then there are probably two package sections, which detail some events that you can complete at the camping location. All right. So we can start with the HTML part first, then we'll do the styling later. First of all, we'll have the header. Let me have a container to fix the width. Then inside the container, we'll have a div for logo, which will have the title and logo of the website. Then we'll have another section called navbar, which can have the links, empty path, packages. We'll duplicate this a couple of times. For news and media. Coming right after the header, we'll have a main section. This will have the hero that would be full width. So I'm not going to use a container there. I'll have this section called hero. I will come back to this later. This will probably be styled using the CSS. And secondly, I will have another section called banner. This will represent uh, the button and this text here. Can have a button wrapper. which will have class equal to button book now. We will also have a section called description. I'm just going to copy paste some HTML that'll go here. It's just the heading and the text. So right after the hero and the banner, we'll have the news section. Now, the news section is also kind of full width, so I'm not going to use the container here. News section will have a heading called news. We can represent all these news items as an unordered list like this. So we'll have a list item. First one should be a person rowing. We will have some description for that. We'll also have a link to read more. I'll duplicate this list item once more and change this to fishing. I'll duplicate both of these again and change them to boat. And finally, the last one is called jogging. So that will complete the news section. So we can launch this on the live server. And you can see what we've already done here. Now we have the stuff in the header, the banner, as well as the news section with all those 4 images and details. Now we'll go and make the changes on the SASS file. So to start off, I'll declare 2 variables to store the values of these colors, this dark color. And let's name it theme dark. We'll also copy this color and call it theme light. We'll probably use one more color, light gray, which will be this background. So now that we've defined a couple of variables, eh, so usually what developers actually do is they will remove all the default margins and paddings provided by the browser. So let's do that first. I'll put margin as 0 and padding as 0. When I save it, you can see the live server has auto-reloaded the file, and we've zeroed out the padding and margins here. Now I am going to specify the font family as the sans serif font, and we'll also set the default font size as 20 pixel. Since we are just going to deal with desktop sizes today, I'll set a minimum width as around 750 pixels. And if we go back to the design, we can see the titles. The headings have a font called Laura. So I'm going to define that here. Font. I have this installed on my machine, so I don't have to import it from Google Fonts for now. But if you're going to publish this anywhere, then we have to include that correctly. And we can also do one more thing, which is text transform uppercase. All right. So let's work on the header first. The header will have a padding top bottom 1 em and left right 0. We'll have the background color as the theme dark. Going back to the header section, the header has a container which we need to use to lay out these two children. So we have to make the layout like this. So we'll go to header, let's say container. The container will be display flex, justify content, space between, and finally we'll align items center. So with this, the two children are now aligned left and right, like we have in the design. We also need to make one more change to the container. Since we are going to reuse the container later, I'll specify this here. Max width of 1670 pixels and center it using the margin. Let me define this. Oh, this is really wide now. Let me reduce this for testing purposes. Let's change it to 1200 pixels. So that would be the maximum width of the container. If the screen is larger than that, it'll keep them in the middle of the page. And if we reduce, it'll only go as far as 700 before we get the scroll bar, the horizontal scroll bar. All right. Now we have this navbar out there. Also, I think all of these text are in white color. Yes. So we can do that for the header. Color white. Then we also have the navbar. Remove the underline text using the text decoration. And we can also provide some spacing between these links using the margin. Yes, so that should be good enough space, kind of. Now let's come down to the hero section. So for hero, I have exported the background image as hero.png, and it is part of the main block. Main block has a section called hero. So I will come down here. Main will have hero. Background will be asset/hero.png. We will center it. The background size would be cover, and the background repeat. I think that's not necessary here. I'll just add a height of 80% of the viewport height, and we can see the hero image here. Now for the banner section, which is supposed to be coming overlaid on top of the hero like this. What we'll do is we have the banner section. For banner section, we'll give it a margin top of -12 em units. So you can see the banner section has overlapped with the header now. We need to center the contents, so I'll use the grid. Place content on center. Okay, we'll come back to that. So under the banner, we have button wrapper and a description. So for the button wrapper, we will use the flex display system, justify content center, align items center. So now the button is center aligned. Now for the description. The descriptions will have a background color of white. We will reduce the width to 30% of the view width, viewport size width. We'll also give a padding of 2M at the top and 4M everywhere else. So that'll look like this. We also need to provide a margin top of 2M units. So it'll push this up. Text align center. I think I can increase this to 50. Yeah, that's looking better now. We can increase the line height to 1.5. So apart from this design, I think we can have a rounded corner for this section because it'll be similar to the button design. So we'll give a border radius of 1M. Is that too much? Okay, let's go with 1. Now we'll have the same style of button for here as well as in these two sections. So I'm going to specify a common style for both of them. It'll have a background color of theme light. Not bottom, it is button. Yes, we got it here. Needs ample padding or not. We'll remove the border and the text color would be white. 1M units and 2M units. Border radius 0.5 M units. Font size 1M. I think it can be made a bit bigger, I think. Maybe I will reduce the padding to 0.5 and 1. Okay. And we'll also remove the text decoration. Uppercase. And it also uses the serif font. So We can easily add that here. And I can remove this text transform from there. So we have the button and this section. I think this is fine so far. So let's work on the new section. So the new section is a full width section and it has a different background color. And it will have all these news items from left to right. The news section has a class of news. It will have an H2, UL, and LIs. Coming back under the main, we'll define the news section to have a background color of theme gray. We can give a padding of 2 M units. We'll center align the heading section. Center. We can also provide a margin bottom to separate it from the list items. Now for the UL and LI, they have this bullet icon. So we'll first remove that using the list style type as none. So that is gone. Now we need to align them from left to right rather than going from top to bottom. So for that, on the unordered list element, we'll say use the grid. We'll provide grid template columns because we want them to be in columns. There is a function called repeat auto fit. So this actually provides a way to align these in a responsive manner. So if there is more space, they will align like this in a single row. And if there is less space, they'll convert to a grid system by default. We don't have to do anything. We can also specify a grid gap of some value. So now these are separated. I think this is good for this section. Now coming down to this section, I think this can be implemented in multiple ways, but let me try a method that I could get it to work. So going back to the index.html file. So after the news section, we'll have a new section called activity. So while we're here, I think I can also add a footer section so that I don't forget it. Now coming back to the activity section. Now this looks like it needs to be uh, placed within the container. So it shouldn't be full width on all screens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the container class here and have the activity as a child. So this would be wrapping, the container would be wrapping the activities class. And we have two elements. There's one image and there's one text section. I'll have an image. The source would be assets slash kayak. So this is a bigger version of the the photo from the news section, which is a person on a kayak. And after the image, we'll also have another description for that activity. I am going to copy paste some boring HTML here. So we have a heading and two paragraphs followed by a button. So going back to the web page, what we can see is what you expect. So the image followed by another section with the title and the two paragraphs as well as the button here. I'll just add something here in the footer to distinguish that it is the footer. So you can see the footer here. I think I'll just go ahead and add the styles for the footer here. Background color would be theme dark and padding 2 units. Text align center. Okay, so that's how we can do the footer. Now, coming back to the activity section, we'll define it here. First of all, we will have a padding of forums vertical and vertical. So this is forum here and forum units here. So that's a nice separation of the sections. Now, as per the design, the image would be on the right and the description would be kind of overlapping it here. To get that done, what we can do is the the image section, it's not as wide as the page, so we can just say text align right, and the image is aligned to the right. The tricky part is with the description, which we can give a padding of 2 units, as well as the background color of light gray. So it would start to look like this. Now we need to restrict the width and we have to make it overlap the image. So the overlapping part is very easy because hmm, if I say margin, let me restrict the width first. I'll give it a 50% of the viewport width. And let me see if I can do it with margin top minus 10 units. So the problem here is somehow the background is going behind the image. So in this scenario, what seems to be working is if I can go to, instead of using the margin top trick like we did above, I'm going to use position relative and say bottom 150. So I don't know why it works, but we can do this. We can also do left so that it will pull like this. Now, since this section is inside the container, it will have a restricted width, but when the page width increases, the width of this div also increases because we specified it as uh, relative to the viewport width. We can actually fix that with a max width property of, let's say, 800 pixel. Now, when we do that, it should restrict it from growing beyond 800. See with 500. Yeah, now this seems to be fixed here. So if I open the image in a new tab, I can see the width of the image is 800. So maybe I can go back to 800 here so that both of them will have the same width. The reason we're going to set uh, the width as a factor of the viewport width is that if it's reduced, we still want it to be smaller. So on a smaller desktop, we could see something like this. It would still get aligned on top of the background image. And that is kind of it. I'm not going to do the second section, which is kind of similar to this one, which we have already done. So going to the top, we have the logo here, some links, then the hero section, the button, the news section. So if I maximize the screen, we can see the container is here. So that's like that. All right, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll publish this, I'll update all this code into GitHub and provide the link at the bottom in the description. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.